Great morning, Facebook. This is Jim Blythe, and welcome aboard. You've got the Veterans Impact Show. We're going to be going live on the air in just a second and recording this for our networks. So, this is Jim Blythe. Joining me, two of the greatest ladies in the real estate industry, Linda Davidson with Fairway Independent Mortgage, and Geni Manning, a realtor with Keller Williams. So, stand by. We're going to be on board in just a few seconds. This is Veterans Impact. Welcome to the Veterans Impact Show, where our motto is Charlie Mike. Continue the mission. I'm your host, Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy Vietnam veteran and certified senior advisor. Join me as we feature veterans who continue the mission of leadership and commitment in our communities after serving our great nation. Why, you never know who you're going to meet or where we're going to go. So, welcome aboard. What a great day today, and I got to tell you, we're coming up on Easter Sunday, one of my favorite times of the year, and boy, let me tell you, I can't wait to get some deviled eggs. It's always great. I've got to say a special thank you to DBTV Network for putting us on Amazon Fire and Roku. We're on 9 o'clock Saturday morning, and on the AUN TV network out in Northern California. Man, I'm getting ready to come out there and see you guys. I love Northern California. So subscribe to us on the YouTube. Join us on Facebook, Veterans Impact Show. You want to get a hold of me? I'm at 214-502-4600. And also, I want to tell you, I'm a part of Fairway Independent Mortgage. Matter of fact, Linda is my manager of our area and branch manager, and really great. But Fairway Independent Mortgage is the largest non-bank mortgage company in the nation. Their NMLS number is 2289. Mine is 311548, and we're an equal opportunity lender. We're across the nation. We're in every state, so we can help you. And we do just about everything when it comes to financing. I want to introduce two really, really great ladies. First of all, Geni Manning, realtor, Keller Williams, very dear friend of mine. Geni, tell everybody a little bit about your background, please.
Well, I started in the real estate industry in 1980, building custom homes, believe it or not. My husband at the time was the second largest builder in Texas, and he did tract homes, what we call them then. And I wanted to build custom homes, and he couldn't because it was conflict of interest. So he said, "You do it, I'll help you." So that's how I got started. And then in 82, I got my license, a real estate license. And then later in the 80s, the crash hit and all the foreclosures. So I went out on my own and started my own firm that specialized in foreclosures. And back then they didn't have short sales, but later did. When those came about, I got my certification as a foreclosure and short sale expert. Then in the 90s, I started doing luxury homes. So I got certified as a certified luxury home specialist and certified staging professional. And then in 2000 something, I started working a lot more with seniors. Had to take guardianship over my mother, so I learned I didn't know a lot about seniors. So I got my senior real estate specialist and certified probate expert certification. And then recently, I've been doing a lot of divorces, got certified divorce specialist, joined the National Association of Divorce Professionals like you, Jim, and started a DFW chapter. And I'm the director of that. And here I am. It's busy.
This is also our busiest time of year. Now, you've written several books about real
6.
estate, one of which is about divorce and all. So how can people get a hold of you and get a copy of one of your books?
This is my divorce book. They can reach me at 469-556-1185. Here's my book about seniors and a regular book for sellers. I don't have my other books with me, but my website for divorces is survivingdivorces.com. And then my regular website is genimanning.com.
Well, besides being a great real estate professional and being my a real estate agent. You helped us find a really phenomenal home, and we're so excited. We're going to close on that this next week. And we've been friends for quite a while. There is a little known thing about you that I've got to tell everybody. You were a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader.
Yes,
How about
I
that?
was.
Yeah,
And very proud that I had that opportunity, and
back
it
when they
changed
won
my
the
life.
Super Bowl.
Went to the Super Bowl. So,
Yeah. Now, I want to also introduce probably one of the best people that I have ever worked with, bar none. Man, woman. She is the manager of the branch. She recruited me into Fairway Independent Mortgage along with Tim Harder, who's an old friend of mine. She is a phenomenal leader. She is an incredible trainer. So I'd like for you guys to welcome Linda Davidson. And Linda, tell us a little bit about your career and background.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. We love having you part of the team, so that's a lot of fun. So, starting the business around 30 years ago, so Geni, you have definitely beat me, but about 30 years ago. And I grew up in government housing. And so to get to do this every single day and to help families create homeownership is one of my greatest joys. I love doing it. It is so fun. I always say if I ever get tired of, of the joy of doing that, then I'm retiring. But, that hadn't happened because it's so much fun. And so I love that I also get to lead a branch in a region. And it's so much fun to watch the growth of my loan officers and our teammates grow in their business and get to mentor them to do that also. So definitely blessed. And thank you for letting me and allow me to be here today.
Well, Linda, tell everybody what your contact information is and how they can contact you because we have an amazing team, one of the top performing teams in the nation.
We do. All right. So the phone number at the office is 972-278-3400. Or my website is lindadavidsonmortgageexpert.com. And so, or they can just shoot an email to me at linda.davidson@fairwaymc.com. So whatever is easiest for them, they can look me up and be my pleasure to help.
Boy, you guys, you do a phenomenal job. Both of you, outstanding leaders in your industry. And Linda, your husband is an Army veteran. David, great guy. And I've gotten him enthused and he signed up for the PACT Act
You
after I
did.
did. And let me tell you, that made a huge change in my life. The
Yep.
VA healthcare system and VA benefits really took care of me. And I'm a Vietnam veteran, probably exposed to a lot of things I don't even want to talk about anymore, but we're good to go. Now, one of the things that's in the news right now is this major NAR lawsuit. This is National Association of Realtors. And I think the press, because so frequently they don't know, but they tell you anyway. So, Geni, let's talk about what this is, why you've got to have good representation from a realtor, why this has had an impact on our industry.
well, I think first of all, most people don't understand all the work that a realtor does. I have typed up. Let me see here.
See
A
it?
buyer's agent's task. There's 3 pages here. 90 tasks that the buyer's agent does, and then I have a list. Same thing for sellers. 90 things, and this isn't all. This is just all that I've been able to put together right now. But what the difference is, the change um, is. Let me explain how it was in the past. The commissions and the realtors were in the listing agent received all the commission. Then it was half of it went to the buyer's agent that the seller paid, and it was built into the price. Now, and it was on MLS showing what that commission was. was. And I like to call it a professional service fee, but for easy terms, just commission for now. But now with the new ruling, we can't put it in MLS anymore. And the buyers have to have their own buyer's representation agreement, a legal binding contract, just like the listing agent has had with the seller. So now the buyer has to pay the commission unless we find a seller that's willing to pay. And hopefully sellers will understand that they're going to have to, because most buyers cannot afford to pay a commission after they put down their down payment and closing costs. It's just impossible for the majority of the people. And then VA can't even pay the commission. So what that's doing to the buyer is they're going to have less houses to look at, because they have got to find sellers that is willing to still pay that commission and just structure the price and everything like that. So there's going to be a whole lot more lawsuits, I can tell you, with it being done this way. And they don't have it all figured out. They can't. It's discrimination. We're veterans. We have low inventory already. Now it's even going to be lower inventory because the sellers, I hear all the time, sellers haven't put their house on the market because they can't find a house they like. Well, those sellers are going to be buyers. And if they can't pay the commission, then they're not going to put their house on the market. So it's just a snowball effect that is going to be bad for everybody around. So now the commissions are separate, and the buyer has to enter into that contract with an agent before they ever go show them a house. So we won't be able to show houses without having that contract in place with the buyer. So buyers that, skip around and go to different realtors and have this realtor show them that house, and that's gone. That's going to be gone.
So instead of helping people,
it's hurt.
It's hurting. Well, that's typical of the unintended consequences of what a lot of lawyers do. And I'm not a big fan of some of these class action lawsuits because they're not good.
And the biggest
you have mentioned, Geni, that this is a seller's market. So one of the important things is now you got to have a pre-approval. And Linda, this is so important because there's a lot of these online companies, and I'm not going to say any names of companies that have come up that I've seen in social media that have said, hey, I went on to an online company, I got a pre-approval, and they couldn't get it closed. And they just kept coming on with more and more conditions, more and more conditions, more and more conditions. So now, if you're not pre-approved, a realtor won't even show you the house.
Shouldn't, for sure.
Yeah. And then appraisal issues. Mm-hmm. There's going to be appraisal issues.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. But Linda, tell us a little bit about that pre-approval process. It's not just oh yeah, man, here it is, go out and find a home. You actually do quite a bit of work.
We do what's called pre-underwrite up front. And so, Jim, what that means is when we talk to a buyer, we go ahead and have them send their documents in. We underwrite that up front. And the reason that we do that is because in the world of lending, there's always an and, if, and but. And so let's cover those up front. Let's take the stress level away. Let's go ahead and make sure that there are no surprises at the end, because I don't like surprises. I don't even like good surprises. So it is just my nature. And so we want to know up front that we're never going to close late or ugly. And so if we do that up front, we can also, that buyer is now confident as we go over their numbers, their out of pocket, their monthly payments, everything that they're looking at. We're able to do that with confidence, so they can go out with confidence and make sure that when they find something, they're very confident in what they're doing, how the offer, place the offer, what their out of pocket's going to be, their monthly payments and such, so that there are no surprises at the end. So that is definitely different than what you normally see in your own line. Your own line just says, hey, tell me what you think. Oh, it looks good. Fine. Here's your letter. but that we get so many calls of, oh my gosh, this is blown up. Can you help me? And why this business is stressful enough, buying a home is stressful enough. Why do that stress? Let's do everything up front before you find something. That way, you know 100% everything is what you need to know and that it's ready to go.
Let me tell a story because I had a couple that were trying to buy a home, and so I pulled their credit, and what we found with the guy, there was two liens against the property and against him that showed up on the credit report, and he said, I don't even know who those are. And he had had a heart attack, and somebody got his information and filed liens and filed on his credit, and we, right then and there. Well, if I had just said, hey, you're pre-approved, it would have been a disaster. It took us about a month of working with an attorney to get that junk off his credit. 75% of the credit reports I see are incorrect. And you got to get that information and address it. And I think some of these online companies either don't look at credit or they pull only one bureau, and you
Right.
got to
We
pull
see that a
all
lot.
three. Yeah. And so this is really, really important. Now, in your VA, a lot of people say, well, the VA loan is too tough or the appraisals are too tough. Not the truth, correct, Linda?
I love VA loans. It's one of my favorite loans that we do. And the reason I love VA is in typical, the buyer can get in with zero down payment. Now, there's always closing costs and prepaids. We can discuss how to possibly negotiate seller paying that if the market allows that to happen. But there is typically not a down payment. Now, when I say typically, it's because sometimes if they've used their VA before, and part of it hasn't been released, there possibly could be a down payment, but we can help them go through the process of having that released if possible. So, but VA loans are a phenomenal way to go for our veterans. Grateful that we have that ability in order to do that. And it's a great product. There's not a monthly mortgage insurance on a VA loan. And if a veteran has a service connected disability, that funding fee that VA charges is even waived. And so, great loan. And Jim, we really don't see any difference between the appraisal on a VA mortgage, on a VA loan, than we do a conventional or FHA. In fact, on a VA loan, VA is the only loan type in which the veteran is required to contact the lender if they can't make value. And it's called Tidewater. Go figure why the name. But they have to contact us. We in then turn contact the agents,
All right,
and that
Linda,
way we can present more comps.
let me break in here. We're going to take a break to hear from all of our partners. So this is the Veterans Impact Show. I'm Jim Blythe, and joining me, Linda Davidson with Fairway and Geni Manning, Realtor with Keller Williams, two of the most outstanding members of the real estate industry. Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show, and thanks to our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Now, let's continue this great conversation. What a great opportunity, because what we're talking about today on the Veterans Impact Show is how do you build wealth and how do you have really great family security? And people go, what do you mean building wealth? Well, give you an idea. Diane and I bought a townhouse, and I will tell you that it was less than $200,000, and today it's worth more than $400,000. And that's in about 10 years. Geni, you can quote that. We have seen that kind of appreciation and that kind of demand in our Dallas-Fort Worth market. It's not true throughout the nation, but we have seen that as a wealth building tool for many, many people. That's 100% return in a 10-year period. That's 10% per year. That's pretty amazing. Is that not
I,
what you've seen too?
yeah, I just had one of my buyer's agents, my old buyer's agents, contact me yesterday. They said, "Did you see your old house? It's on the market right now." And I said, "No, I didn't." He said, "What'd you sell it for?" And I said, "I think it was like 450,000." And he showed it to me. It was on the market now for 953,000. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
10 years ago. Yeah.
I did a loan for a guy on Lake Ray Hubbard with a beautiful, beautiful lot, beautiful home. I think it appraised for, I want to say, in the 600,000 range. He got his county tax statement, $1,060,000.
Wow.
Now that's a lakefront property that
Yeah.
is really amazing. But this is what
Well,
we've seen, and
and
that's yeah.
that's the advantage of buying over renting. You
Oh
can
yeah.
never build wealth with renting. So,
No, actually,
eh,
you're building poverty because right
yeah.
now in Dallas, ladies, let's switch for half a second because I know the commercial real estate market. Our rentals have gone through the roof. You're talking about a one bedroom, little better than efficiency, is close to $1,000 a month.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
1,500.
1,500. My wife is correcting me. So all of a sudden, you're talking about as much as a mortgage payment in many places, and you get nothing for it except a place to live, and they can raise the rent on you, however long the term of your lease is, and you
Eh,
still got to pay your utilities, right?
yeah. And speaking of building wealth for other reasons, one of my senior clients, who was also a veteran, last year, we had to sell his house, and that money he made $500,000 on his proceeds, and he used that for his long term um, housing needs. So you can use it, that the wealth that you build from your equity in a lot of different ways. But you don't have
Well,
that if you're renting.
no. Well, one of the things is I had a guy that worked for the Federal Reserve. He sold his house in Lake Highlands for 560. It was paid off, bought a brand new home. His wife had MS. And basically, when it was all over with, he gets a brand new home, latest technology, single level home, handicap equipped, and puts $300,000 in the bank in
With the
addition
reverse
to the
mortgage.
down payment, after the down payment. I mean, that you talk about wealth building, all of a sudden he's got 300,000 in the bank plus a home using a reverse mortgage with no monthly
Right.
payment. Hello?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now, when you're talking about commercial real estate, we're talking about overall, I think there's a lot of us who've been involved in commercial real estate for years that are very concerned because Dallas is one of the top 5 cities in the nation that major leases are coming due this year.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing with these high interest rates, a reluctance of tenants to renew with people, a change in culture, people working at home. So I think we're going to see some correction in the commercial market, no doubt about it.
That's what
But
everybody's saying.
yeah, but I also see all of the jobs of people come into this area and what it costs to rent.
Mhm.
Ladies, without a doubt, when people say, well, now's not the time because interest rates are high and inventory's so low, now is the time.
Mhm.
Because if you don't get in on the train, you're going to be left behind, correct?
Yeah, I just saw somebody did a chart. I think it was another loan officer that was showing the difference in waiting just a year and 2 years. That
Yes,
how much the houses had gone up, and it's going to continue to go up in the DFW area.
it is.
Um,
So interesting enough, Jim, if you look at the last 48 years of our industry, 65% of the time in the last 48 years, interest rates have been above 6%.
yeah,
In the last 48 years, 52% of the time, interest rates have been above 7%. And if you look at the last 48 years, 42% of the time, rates have been above 8%. So when we look at rates this, that are this high, it's because we have been accustomed the last few years with very low rates. But if you look at 65% of the time in the last 48 years, rates have been over 65% have been over 6%. Rates are what's called a balanced market. A balanced market is around 7%, where stocks are doing good, bonds are doing good. This is what the average rate is actually in a balance, but we're not accustomed to that because we have been seeing these crazy low rates especially during COVID pandemic time, when the feds came in and artificially kept interest rates low. The thing I tell my clients, I can refinance your rate, but down the road, but when we get in a market that is multiple offers, because there's still shortage of inventory, but everyone is coming out now, that pent up demand of people wanting to now purchase because they hear that rates are coming down. If you overpay for a home, you're going to overpay for a home. You're going to always owe that until you pay it off, right? I can refinance that mortgage. Don't overpay for a home. In my opinion, right now is actually a great time to go out and look for homes, because yes, rates are higher than what we've seen in the last 5 to 7 years, but it's a great time to look at it.
Absolutely. And one of the things a lot of people don't realize, Texas is now the #1 state in the nation for veteran population. And Dallas-Fort Worth is growing so rapidly in
Yes.
that area. And so you've got to have a great realtor to get you in the right place and a great mortgage banker to get you taken care of. We'll be right back. This is Veterans Impact Show. Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show. And thanks to our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Now, let's continue this great conversation. Well, I hope you're enjoying this, because we're talking about helping you to gain wealth and family security. Because in all of my years of doing this, and I got both of you ladies beat, I started in 1972 down in Austin. But actually, my dad worked for a development company, and I was holding open doors at open houses at Brookhaven when I was 9 years old. So
Wow.
I can say I've been in this business all my life.
Yeah.
We've seen ups and downs, and good Lord, the times we had after 2008 were pretty rough. But if you had bought a 2008, bought a house, you would be just in la la land today. So this is important, and our population is going to continue to grow. And Texas, because of our because of our tax structure, and because of the jobs that are here. What a lot of people don't realize in Texas, there's something in the neighborhood of probably $100 billion of manufacturing plants being built in the Austin area. There's one built up in Sherman that are in the high-tech industry. We're becoming one of the leaders in the nation in that regard. So if you're in another part of the country and you're struggling trying to get a job, man, come to Texas. Take a look at what's available. And I got to tell you, it's phenomenal. The other thing is, our tax situation is great. Our weather is pretty good most of the year. I mean, we haven't had a single ice storm so far this year that I can remember that really had any effect. But it does get warm down here. So if you want to go to the baseball game, go to Globe Life Park. I also want to make a quick again. This is brought to you by Fairway Independent Mortgage, and my NMLS number is 311548, and our corporate one is 2289. We are an equal opportunity lender. I keep all of the attorneys happy, Linda, from jumping on me.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
Yes, well, we do the best. And I think it's so important, though, that people know you got to have help. It's easy to say, but when you suddenly see in the newspaper about somebody bought a home and all of a sudden they found out they're in the middle of a terrible mess because that seller didn't own that home. It was fraud.
Yeah.
And they're in the middle of they're being kicked out of the home that they bought and put a lot of money down. The other thing that's going on is wire fraud. We've got to be exceptionally careful. And I know both of you ladies are talking to everybody about wire fraud. And people go, what are you talking about? Well, they get an email that says, this is your title company. How they find out, I don't know. and they say, here are the wiring instructions for your down payment. And it's not the title company. So how do you combat that, Linda? What I tell people, call the title company, talk to somebody there and make sure you've got the correct closing instructions. Correct?
Absolutely. We stay in touch with our clients quite regularly. So one of the things we do have an intentional conversation is if you get an email that says send money here, do not send it. Pick up the phone and call me. And then that we know for sure that we're keeping your money safe. We will walk you through how to keep your money safe when it's time to send your final amount to the title company. And so, and then we do scripting to that. We give them, we get them in contact with the right phone number to the right title company, making sure that their money is safe, because it is a big deal in our industry right now. It's pretty crazy how the bad guys, they it's just beyond, my brain doesn't even work that way. And so we've just had to be very cautious and careful and smart in making sure that we keep their money safe.
One of the things I have observed is when you pull a credit report, and people need to know this, the credit reporting companies are selling that information. They are selling it to, I guess, the highest bidder, because I have had so many calls from mortgage companies. I've had so many calls from realtors. I've had so many calls from other people. All of a sudden, I'm on the radar for having my credit pulled and being pulled by Fairway, so they know I'm getting a loan for a home.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And that's where they're getting a lot of this information. It's not coming from us, and we can't stop it. There's nothing we can do. So we try and tell people, pay attention, say no, make sure who you're talking to, because you you can get scammed so fast, especially if you're elderly. I know that both of you ladies are heavily involved in working with seniors, as I am, and if there is one group of people that get scammed because their lack of knowledge of the sophistication of all of the technology, it's seniors. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And, one of the things I think it's important when we talked that first initial conversation, when as a trusted advisor lender, we are giving them the ability to opt out to all those trigger lead calls that you got, Jim, when you had your credit pulled. And so it takes about 3 to 5 days to do that, but it will eliminate majority of those what's called trigger calls, which the lenders go in and buy those lists from Equifax or TransUnion or Experian, and then they make these crazy calls. And we had a client one time that had 70, he counted it for in 2 days, had 72 calls. And so, which is crazy, our contacts, and so we do everything we can to make sure that our clients do not have those trigger leads. We can't control everything, but we can control as much as possible.
Yeah, and again, where are the attorneys that are suing people? Well, they're not suing the credit reporting companies, that's for sure. And
Yeah.
again, here's one of the other thing, and I said this before and I'm going to say it again. 75% of the credit reports have incorrect information. And you've got to find out what that is and get it cleaned up. And Geni, I bet you get occasionally you get somebody, you get right up to closing, and all of a sudden they go buy a Volvo, or they go buy a refrigerator, or they go buy furniture, and they screw their credit up.
I learned a long time ago to have that intentional conversation in the very beginning when I talk to a buyer. And I do not show houses unless they're already pre-approved. I want everything verified. And I do the same thing for listings. I have a title search done because I want to make sure there's no liens or anything that's going to keep us from selling that house. And it protects both buyers and sellers in each
100%.
transaction.
100%.
That if that
Very smart.
And I'm going to say another thing, because I've seen family members buy a house from another family member and not get the kind of protection that's needed, not go through a title company, and they just do this, and all of a sudden we find out, hey, there was no will back a generation ago, and there's not clear title, and they can't get clear title. and they go to finance it, they go to sell it, and they can't.
Or there's
Um,
liens. I've had IRS. I had one divorce case. Took me over a year to sell. That was in bankruptcy. Got them out of bankruptcy. Then it went into foreclosure. Had to pull that out into a short sale. It had a tax lien and an IRS lien. So, and anybody that would put a house, a contract, the buyer would be stuck too now that they wouldn't know all that. It took, anyway, it's a mess. You have to know all that stuff up front
well,
to get it
100%.
Linda,
cleared
you gave me an award, Mister Perseverance. Was that it? Yeah,
Perseverance Award for last year.
out.
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had a deal that took over a year, and it was settling of an estate where the guy had died without a will, but there was a previous will from 1993. So
From
his
a
second
previous
marriage,
marriage.
huh?
Yeah. From a
Yeah,
previous marriage.
yeah. And I run it. I mean, it was a nightmare. And the
Was.
family, they say blood is thicker than water. No, it's not. You
Yeah.
can cut blood with money all day long.
Very true. We've seen it.
Hmm.
And Jenny and Linda, and from my perspective, one of the things is, as a family, as an individual, you've got to have the legal documents in place. You've got to have a will. You've got to have a durable power of attorney. You've got to have these things put in place. And why you say, well, that has nothing to do to real estate. Well, it can down the road. It can really mess you up. Wouldn't you ladies agree?
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Okay, $64 question. Where do you think we're going to go with this election year? What do you think is going to be happening to our real estate market? I think I know the answer, but I just want to have you say it.
Well, history has always shown that a lot of people, wait until after the elections because they're because of all the uncertainties that go with it. So it's going to be slower this year for sure, which is going to make lower inventory and harder, for buyers to find what they're looking for, you know. But that's the way it is. It always is election year.
Well,
A lot.
Linda, we've seen publications come out and say that the Federal Reserve is going to lower rates 3 times in the next 12 months.
Hmm.
We've seen a lot of publications and people who are quote unquote experts say they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Then no guarantee that that is, in fact, going to happen. But we do think interest rates are going to lower some. Maybe with three shots between now and the year, who knows? Will that have a tremendous impact though on your buying power? Because those rate changes are not that much, are they?
We anticipate seeing around three, is what the feds have said, interest rate cuts this year. Now, it's important to understand that when feds come in and cut rates, they decrease what is called Fed fund rates. And Fed fund rates is short-term interest rates, so it's what banks borrow from each other overnight. Then it's the reaction of the market, whether that will affect and how much that will affect mortgage rates. What we will see though is in the news they'll hear feds have cut interest rates. So I do anticipate that you're going to see a lot more people who have been on the sidelines come out and start looking. But to Jenny's point, if we have a shortage of inventory, then all that's going to do is increase that multiple offer situation, because if we can't get the sellers to start selling their homes, then we are going to have that shortage of inventory. But it's going to get worse because you're going to you've got more people that are coming off the sidelines because they heard rates are coming down, and so you're going to have this bottleneck. Is what and more than likely it's going to happen this year. So that's why, in my opinion, it's a great time to look at it now before
Mhm.
that happens, because I can always refinance that, even if we don't refinance for another year and a half, because we do anticipate 2025 to be a really, really strong purchase year. We also anticipate it to be a strong interest rate year as far as rates being lowered. So I personally think right now is a fantastic time to purchase, get ahead of everyone else who is going to come out of that pent and into that pent up demand.
Let me bring up another subject that the three of us see all the time. And I'm going through this as well, although I expected it and I knew and we tried to anticipate. But when you're going through that approval process and underwriting, they keep asking for more and more and more. And I mean, I don't care how much you try and do, sometimes it's going to happen. But we have been um, so many legislative things done, as well as so many financial things done, that you've got to, if you have more than $500 deposited in your checking account, you got to say, where did it come from? There is so much fraud going on and all that there are so many things today that we didn't have 10 or 15 years ago. So if you haven't been in the market a long time, you need to keep good records. This is my point. You need to keep good records. You need to know when you get money. If Uncle Charlie gives you a gift of $1,000, then you better have some sort of backup to say, this is what I got. Or if I sold something, I sold a car, keep that receipt. If I did something, keep that receipt. Also, I go to people and I say, okay, you're looking for reverse mortgage. You're going to need your Social Security verification. Well, why? Yeah, you got to have these, keep these documents. Well, I'm not going to buy a home. You don't know. You don't know when life changes
Mhm.
and you are going to be in a situation where you go, oh my goodness gracious, I've got to sell my home and I need to be closer to my grandkids or closer to my family. Or I've just had an unexpected opportunity to move to Dallas from Chicago and I'm ready to go. You got to keep your documents. Wouldn't you guys agree?
I think 100%. Now, I think it's important too. One of my favorite phone calls, Jim, is someone who says, I'm not looking to purchase for 6 months, but can you tell me what I need to do? I love those phone calls because I love those pre-plannings, right? So we can look at the full picture, we can look at everything, get them mortgage ready so that when they are ready to purchase, then they know their do's and don'ts. They know what they need to be doing. They know, and it'd be so much easier. Now, not everybody has that luxury. Sometimes life happens and the things have to change. And so maybe they need to go ahead and sell and purchase or whatever the case may be. But I think, again, that is why it's so important to go to a lender, make sure they do everything up front so that if there's going to be an issue, let's get it resolved up front versus when they've got under a contract on a home and all of a sudden now we've got a bigger issue and they've already spent money on option and earnest money and appraisals and inspections and that kind of thing. Let's know about it quickly up front.
And
And
that's
I
the
think, yeah, Jenny, go ahead.
I was going to say that's true with divorces too. You need to plan your what you're going to do as far as buying a house, and there's so much that is involved that has to be done in advance before the final divorce decree.
100%.
Once that final divorce decree is done, it's too late. You may have to wait years before you can buy another house. So that's real important to plan early.
That verbiage is hugely important, and what goes into that divorce decree when there's buying and selling of a home, and to work with someone who understands that verbiage as far as a realtor and a lender, hugely important. And that is someone who's been in the business. They know their stuff. They have that knowledge, and they understand the intricacies of it.
And one myth about divorces, a lot of people say you can't buy a home until after the divorce decree is done. That is not true.
No. All right, let's come back in just a second to finish this program up. I'm going to be pulling it back into the dock. This is Veterans Impact Show. We're here for you right now. Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show. And thanks to our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Now, let's continue this great conversation. I want to say a couple of thank yous. Thank you to my beautiful wife, Diane, who's posting everything. she comes back in and puts all the commercials in, and so she does an amazing job. I couldn't do this without her. So thank you, Diane, and thank you, Nathaniel, for Ascend Podcasting, because you do the technology and it's so much better than what we did before. So thank you for both of you being on board. And again, thank you, Fairway and Linda, for all the tremendous support that you guys give me. What a great faith-based company. It's so much fun to be there. I'm a little busy traveling all over 7 states, but I got to tell you, this is a great company. If you're interested in finding out about Fairway, call Linda. Give Linda a call. Linda, give out your information again.
Sure. The office number is 972-278-3400, or they can call my cell at 214-802-1868. Best ways to reach us.
Absolutely. And Geni, if people want a copy of your book, can they call you or should they go to Amazon? Where should they get?
They need to call me.
Okay.
And my direct line is 469-556-1185.
What we've been talking with two of the greatest real estate professionals, Geni Manning, Realtor, and Linda Davidson, branch manager, mortgage banker par excellence, experts in their field beyond compare, both of which work with veterans, work with seniors, work through divorce. All of them, you've got, and I don't want to say how many years of experience between the two of you, but
A lot.
it doesn't look it. Trust me, I know both of you well. It's important. Why is it important? Well, you don't want to be a statistic of a victim of fraud. You don't want to be a statistic of you just lost your earnest money because something you did wrong. You don't want to be a victim of you get into a house and you find, oh my God, the hot water heater doesn't work, or this doesn't work, or the electrical panel went out of date and is out of compliance 20 years ago. There's a lot, not only of the physical aspects of buying real estate, but the legal aspects. And you got to have a guide. And one of the things, and I'm sure I'd be criticized for saying this, but a lot of times attorneys really don't know. They really don't understand lending. They really don't understand
That's true.
the real estate nuances as you're doing a divorce, as you're doing estate planning. They really don't know. And I got to tell you, you could call either one of these ladies and they could guide you, because what you all got to understand is real estate is a great wealth builder, but it can also be a big bad mistake if you screw it up and you don't have a professional. Wouldn't you ladies agree?
100%.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we've been covering this, and I got to tell you, if you were going to say to a young man or young woman who's finishing their education and they're coming along and they want to get into the real estate industry, what would you ladies say? Linda?
You've got to not be risk averse for sure, but it is a great industry. Again, just to get to do this every single day is pure joy. It's not an easy industry. It's not an easy business, but it takes a lot of perseverance, right, Jim? But
Absolutely.
it is absolutely a lot of fun, and to get to create homeownership for families every day is an absolute blessing.
Geni, what would you say?
I would ask them, why do they want to be a realtor? And most of the time I hear, because I like looking at pretty houses. And I tell them, you're not looking at pretty houses all the time. Go look at model homes if that's what you want to do.
Yes.
Then they say, because I want flexible hours. Then I say, well, if you want to make any money in the business, you won't have flexible hours. That's the number one
You have all hours. Right.
complaint with realtors and their spouses and families is that it controls your time. You have no personal time.
Yep.
And then there's oh shoot, I had that all. I haven't said this in a long time, but I always ask those questions. Why do you want to get into it? It's never really what they think. It
No.
is hard work,
And it's hard work.
long hours, if you want to make money.
Well,
So,
I started my career while I was in college, University of Texas, after getting out of the Navy. First of all, the Navy was the best thing that ever happened to me, and it taught me systems, and it taught me persistence and perseverance, and it taught me a passion about taking care of people. And believe it or not, on my first job in my with my first real estate company, I was selling a builder home, and I sold my first home in 45 minutes of being on the job. And I had to call the guy and say, "Come help me, because I've got these people." And he goes, "You haven't been there but about 45 minutes. You're kidding me, right?" I said, "No, So it's a joy to help that young family get into a home, and
It
it's
is.
I was very blessed because I got vaccinated real early with this. So again, this is an important part of your life. We're asking you to share this on YouTube, share it on Facebook, and say, "Hey, this is something we need to know as a family. This is something my son or my daughter need to know. This is something my parents need to know." And there are a lot of silver divorces going on, and that's a terrible tragedy. But Jenny and I both have handled those, and so has Linda. There's a lot of technical nuances and legal things the attorneys just don't know.
that's
And
the
as a
number
result,
that's the number one group that are getting divorces is seniors. Number
well,
one group of people.
I
And
ain't
it's
going
the
down that road.
women.
So, God, ladies, let me close with a prayer. Lord God of the universe, we are so eternally grateful to be with you today. And thank you for your hedge of protection around our active duty military, upon our reserves, on all of our first responders, those that run into the fire instead of away from it. And thank you, God, for our veterans who are working to bring this nation back together, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Amen.
Linda, Jenny, thank you so much for being part of Veterans Impact Show.
All right.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having us.
Have a great, great holiday weekend. And let me tell you what, let's go out and help another family have a place to live. Have a great day. Thank you for being part of Veterans Impact Show. Next week, we're talking about medical miracles. So join us. Veterans Impact Show, here for you.